those buses.
Call to order the City Council work session for the City of East Grand Forks for August 9th, 2022. The City Clerk, please call roll.
Mayor Steve Gander.
Here.
Council President Mark Holstead.
Here.
Council Vice President Tim Riepel.
Here.
Council Members Clarence Vetter.
Here.
Dale Helms.
Here.
Tim Johnson.
Here.
Mark Demers.
Present.
And Brian Larson.
That's quorum number 1, Quiet Zone Engineering Agreement. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Council President. Excuse me, Council members. Yeah, what you have before you tonight is the preliminary engineering services agreement for that quiet zone project that would be between the City of East Grand Forks and BNSF Railway. This was provided to us by BNSF. We have reviewed it as far internally with staff, and we've had our city attorney review it. And as I put in your packet there, the city attorney does have some concerns about it being kind of one-sided. I do share his concerns with that. However, as I put in there, the railroad really has quite a bit of autonomy in their right-of-way, and we really do not have much bargaining power on this. And I have worked with Mr. Fiorni on this, and they are not willing to really make any further concessions. This is they said what their requirements are. Then he went in to express how the railroad typically does not promote quiet zones, that is what comes from the community, so they view them as more of a community responsibility. So I guess with that being said, I do share the city attorney's concerns. However, I think this is the best that we can do, and I do recommend that it be approved. So, but I'll take any questions about it.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Murphy? Thank you, sir. Number 2, update on status for 2023 budget. Karla Anderson, please.
Good evening, Council President and Council. Been working on the budget. There's a couple departments that are still working on it, so I don't have all the information in. Just some highlights I wanted to let you know, though. The Cpi Inflation Index from June 21st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022 is at 9.2 right now, so it's still going up. When we're done with the salary part and insurance, and that increase alone in salaries is right now at 7%, and the city share of the insurance is at 12%. We also have gotten notice at workers' comp to plan on a 10 to 15% increase, along with property liability and auto, which is going to go up between 5 and 10%. So I'm trying to build those in. And just so you know that workers' comp went up considerably in our public safety last year because of claims now with post-traumatic stress disorder. So it jumped a lot, just so. And then we're adding on that 15% from 2022 that we paid. So right now, just throwing in a number, it's probably at 19 to 20% of a tax levy to get to zero. And we're still waiting for information from a couple departments. But I know the mayor had wanted to have an update on it, but I'm willing to take any questions and answer them as best as possible.
Do you have any questions for Karla?
We are digging a little deeper into fuels and utilities. Some people have built in a large amount in the utilities, some haven't, so I'd like to be at least consistent in the utilities as best as we can. So I know when we talked with Keith Mickleseth, he talked about electricity with the city that plan on nothing more than 5%, so that's probably what we'll plan for electric utilities. However, natural gas has gone up considerably, and I know Jeff Bushy looked at it extensively and put in what they're using to what the price is now. So I think we just need to sit down as department heads and do that with every department so that we're consistent.
if I may, because it appears like the majority of that right now, for you said about the 19 to 20%, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but the majority of that is with what we're scheduled to do with some of the wages, that are built into the contracts. I think we're at 2.5%.
Yep.
The rest of it comes in for other items for that. Then there's the insurance, which is a large part of it, and the utility cost, which is another large part of it. So, correct me if I'm wrong, that takes up the majority of the increase.
Yes.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I'll just say the last I heard from, I just got this yesterday or the day before. Oh, yeah, I think it was yesterday through Terry, our HR person, is that last she spoke with Justin, he is hopeful that he can get another company to bid on our insurance. So he's still holding out some hope that we might have some relief there. But at this point, we don't have anything that definite for any kind of relief on it.
Mayor.
I know you're doing all you can to really find the savings that you can in a year like this. So I guess I would just challenge everybody at the table to keep that up. I know it's happening. I have no doubt in my mind that our department heads and you, Karla, and you, David, are working very hard to trim that, keeping in mind that we're not just going to kick the can. We're not going to start deferring maintenance. We're not going to let it pile up on the backside and try to catch it up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. So staying current on all of our maintenance and everything else, and also just like all of the families that we serve are having to, tighten belts a little bit. I know we're doing that, and just keep it up, and we'll see where we end up. I trust that you're being just as efficient as can be done.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything this time? All right, thank you, ma'am. We'll move on to number 3, review the 2022 trial balance and general fund as of June 30th.
So you received a copy of the general fund by line item and where we're at today. So if you looked at the most of them, when you look at the budget amount and what we spent and what's left, what we spent and what's left is almost exactly half, or should be, at least in the salaries and wages, because half the year has gone by. So we just wanted to share that with you so you could look through it. If you have questions, you can feel free to call me, you can email me, or I might know some of them off the top of my head right now if you have any questions on that.
Anybody have any questions for Karla?
And this is something we plan on doing quarterly, so you can see line by line where we're at quarterly. Thank you.
Ma'am. Move on to number 4, presentation on Ice Sports Economic Contribution Survey. Reid.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm just going to introduce Ms. Rani Bhattiari. She works with the University of Minnesota Extension Service out of Crookston. Through the last year and a half, as we've been working on the potential recreation improvement projects and the sales tax discussion, we commissioned the Extension Service to help us with an economic impact survey as relates to ice sports and the ice arenas. And so we conducted surveys throughout the course of the last winter, both in-person surveys and handed postcards to people as they came through the doors, and allowed them to do an online survey, especially earlier in the season when we were still dealing with COVID a little more frequently. So there's a couple different survey types that were conducted. Just a thank you to Ronnie and Bridget with the Extension Service and all the work they put in. Ronnie even came over from Crookston and helped conduct in-person surveys during the state hockey tournament and put a lot of work into this. So with that, I'll introduce her and let her give you a little presentation on the numbers and what we found. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reid, and hello, council members. It's a pleasure to be here. So to provide some background and context, Reid actually reached out to us on behalf of the city to understand what services we could provide to help measure the economic contribution of recreational facilities throughout the city. And in those discussions, we focused on primarily the youth winter sports activities, because it was something that was practical and relatively easy to accomplish over the last season. So to give you a little bit of context, the measure of economic importance of hockey and figure skating events was the first goal of the project that we agreed to. And the second one was learn which businesses benefit most from each of the events, and then learn more about hockey and figure skating attendees that are coming to these events. And to get at this, we surveyed attendees of the events at 3 major arenas and gathered a total of 140 responses. The actual numbers that came out for total economic spending by visitor was that per person per day in total, overnight visitors spent about $133.30 a day. Those coming for the day only spent $64.50 per person per day. Major expenditures include lodging, restaurants and bars, and transportation. And this is per person. So if a family of 3 came, the total hotel bill would be about $143. Our data showed that people stayed an average of 2.5 nights for the tournament. So the total trip expense for an overnight visitor would be approximately $333.40. And you can see that at the bottom right here on the graphic. Overnight and day only. And here's the totals as well. So for each hockey tournament weekend, we included the number of teams playing. The number of players per team was assumed to be 14. The number of people traveling per player was estimated to be about 3.1, which includes the player. And if teams were primarily local, likely not to stay overnight, and visitors were likely to stay overnight. We arrived at a total estimate number of about 8,379 visitors, 2,955 of which were overnight, and 5,424 which were day visitors only. For the figure skating events that we surveyed, each figure skating tournament weekend included the registered number of skaters. For one tournament, COVID protocols limited it to 1 additional person per skater, and for the second tournament, we assumed a 3.1, including the skater, per skater, 3.1 visitors to East Grand Forks per skater. This estimate gave us a total visitor count of about 1,000 visitors, all assumed to be overnight. So total visitor spending for all the hockey and figure skating events is estimated to be $1,668,090 for this past season. And that would be the actual direct revenue that comes into the community. What economic impact analysis does is go beyond direct impact and also look at indirect and induced impacts. And this graphic kind of explains how indirect and induced impact is evaluated using the software program we use, an extension called IMPLAN. Indirect impact indirectly is creating new jobs in the community by measuring the revenue of suppliers supplying resources to the recreational facilities of the city. Induced impact is actually a measurement of the wages of everyone employed in the supply chain for providing the services of the recreational facilities in the community. Is that clear to everyone? Or does anybody have any questions about that? Okay. So when you look at this, you can see that the direct impact is $1,668,090. Of that, $445,400 was labor income, and 19 people were employed by the facilities. Indirect impact, total output was $274,730, and of that, 71,940 was income, and employed 11 employees within the suppliers within the community that are supplying services and goods to the recreational facilities. Induced impact is $203,000 and $203,680, and of that, $57,070 was labor income, which employed 10 employees just based on the wages of people employed by the recreational facility and its suppliers. So in total, the total economic impact of this last season's events was $2,146,500. Of that, $574,410 is labor income, and the total number of people, citizens of East Grand Forks were employed. 40 citizens of the city of East Grand Forks were employed by this supply chain. Does that make sense to you? Okay. Here you can see that these are the major industries that are impacted by this total economic impact. And as you saw in the previous graphic, the direct impact is dark maroon. The indirect or supplier impact is yellow, and the induced or wage impact is bright red. And you can see that the major industries impacted, again, are accommodations and food services and drinking places, followed by other amusement and recreation, and then repair and maintenance and museums. The most influenced industry by indirect and induced impact is real estate and utilities, broadcasting, management companies. Other key findings that we found in the data was that there are opportunities to cross-market recreational opportunities. Sports are driving visits to East Grand Forks. People come primarily for the ice event, and people are coming again for the future events. 70% stay in hotels in Grand Forks. More hotel rooms in East Grand Forks could generate more lodging tax for the city as well. Visitors come from across Minnesota and the Dakotas. Are there any questions on the report so far?
Pretty thorough.
Thank you. Well, thank you for your time tonight, gentlemen. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to call me or email me. Reid has my contact information as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have anything in closing on that? Okay.
If there's any questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Reid or anybody? Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time to come over.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by anybody else?
Second.
Mr. Reid, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Means adjourned.
Actually went quicker than I thought.
Okay.
I just called him and just resend it.
Nicer too.